Hello everyone, I have a video in the can that is going to come out very soon, but I wanted to do this short nighttime video. Real quiet, real kind of sneaky at night. I'm in the studio. It's nighttime, it's dark. You see I have the lights on here, and I'm going to have to keep it short because this is kind of really serious information and you're probably not going to get it anywhere else. But I titled this one, "The Only Hope Lies with the Proles." And I called it that because in the first few pages of George Orwell's 1984, Orwell is very clear. Now, Winston Smith in 1984, remember, is a regular guy. Winston Smith is a regular party member, person. Orwell called him Winston after Winston Churchill, which, Winston Churchill was a monumental figure in British history. Smith, however, is one of these super common names, nondescript, nothing special, regular guy, cipher, nothing, just zip. So Winston Smith is a party member. Winston Smith is not low class. He's not upper class. Remember, there's no class division in Oceania because it is a socialist, communist hellhole where everybody is of the same class. Everybody is equal. And if you read 1984, you're not going to get 5 or 6 pages in without understanding that everybody is equally miserable. They eat equally terrible food. They wear equally drab clothing. And everything is just gray and wretched. Because that's what you get when you have people at the top of the pyramid singing songs about freedom and wonderfulness and amazing countryness and just awesome societies that they will manage and you will live in, and you will tell everyone that you're happy. And so Winston is breaking the law, and the book begins with him writing in his diary. Having a diary is illegal. Writing in it is especially illegal. And he is being watched at all times by the telescreen. One of the things that Smith writes in his diary, his illegal diary, and he's nervous about the whole thing. He writes, while being very nervous and hiding from the camera in the telescreen, just like your Xbox One, the telescreen in Winston's apartment can not only be something that you can use for entertainment and you can see it, but it can see you and hear you. So Winston Smith sits in the corner writing around the corner, the only place in the apartment that the telescreen can't see him or hear him. Just like your Xbox One, just like your Alexa, just like Siri, just like all these other things that you, a mouth-breathing piece of intellectual bacteria, seem to want to use so that you can just ask questions into the ether and have them answered because you're too goddamn lazy to look it up anywhere else. But I digress. Winston Smith writes in his diary something profound that I didn't quite understand the first time I read 1984 when I was in high school. He says, "Our only hope lies with the proles." Now, there's a couple of things to speak on this. One of them is that regular society, the accepted society, the accepted party members, that's you. You believe in the political system. You feel that everything is kind of okay. You're more excited about the Super Bowl than you are about the collapsing economy. You know there's something kind of wrong and you know there are issues, but you know what? Hey, I'm going to vote for politician X because that guy's the lesser of two evils. Or I'm going to vote for politician Y because that other guy is a racist. And so I'm going to vote for the politician that CNN and MSNBC tells me to vote for. Right? These are regular people. Winston Smith is a dark version of one of those because it's the bleak nature of the 1984 society is much worse than it is now. If they could do that, they would, but they can't because people will simply revolt. So Orwell was mostly right, but not quite right about how wretched it could be from our overlords. Actually, let me rephrase. Orwell was right about the 1984 horrible, gray, terrible society of wretched sameness in the Soviet Union and North Korea, Venezuela, these places, Cuba, these places that embraced socialism, communism. They became that. So, Orwell was right. He was wrong about the United States. They're trying. They're not actually going to make it, but they're going to come close. Anyway, so Smith is a regular guy. He's not extremely anything. No one is rich. And here's the weird thing. The Proles are the people in the part of town that really don't pay attention to the party and its nonsense. Now, they're not rich, but you're not allowed to wear makeup in 1984. Women are not. They're to wear the drab uniform of the party and salute to Big Brother and sing the songs and do the 2 minutes hate like everybody else. They're not supposed to be attractive or sexy, so no makeup. There's no dancing. There's no drinking anything except Victory Gin, which is, cheap liquor swill, like paint thinner. And it's rationed, so you can only get a certain amount. And Orwell says, through Winston Smith, a few times in the beginning of the book, our only hope lies with the Proles. If there is to be any hope, it lies with the Proles. And that's a fascinating statement, because Smith is not a Prole. He sees that area as kind of uncomfortable and dark and dirty. It's really off the grid. And you got to wonder who the Proles are now. And I want you to think of the area in your town or in your city where people kind of just do whatever they want. They were smoking weed 10, 15 years ago and didn't care. They've been de-gunned, but somehow illegal guns show up because some gang activity and people are going to have to fight back. People aren't really using the mainstream banks. They are unbanked or debanked, as the word goes today. They're focused on creature comforts and pleasure at all times. Image is important and vital. And I'll put it out to you there that if you can think of those kinds of people who are going to do what they're going to do no matter what, that area, Prole has kind of a secondary, actually secondary is the wrong word. Prole has kind of a bad connotation to it. Like, oh, these are the dregs of society. These are people who are just, the human dreck. But the weird part is Orwell sees them as the last hope. Because they just don't care about Big Brother and all that stupidness. They're going to party. They're going to have some fun. They're going to drink. Women are going to put on makeup and look good. And I work in an area that's kind of like this. All of the fads you see on Twitter, like I've said this before, we don't have the trans LGBTQ community coming into where I work and telling people what to say, how to think, to change the bathrooms. You must wave these flags. Now, I don't have any issues with I'm in New York City, right? If I had issues with the LGBTQ community, I'd have moved away a long time ago. I'm in New York. The weird thing is, a lot of that stuff is pushed nefariously by people at the top of the pyramid. The people at the top of the pyramid don't care about the LGBTQ community. They care about power. They care about making sure that everybody bends the knee and thinks the same thing. and that strong Western values, Christian values, are decimated, that strong families are broken up. That's all they care about. They'll use anyone they can, LGBTQ or otherwise, as foot soldiers to get their agenda across, which is everyone think the same, everybody bend the knee, no independent thought, do as you're told, shut up, bow your head. So that aspect of the New World Order, so to speak, does not reach where I work. There is none of that. It's not there. Right? If you go on Twitter and you say something innocuous like, well, I'm a practicing Christian and I don't agree with the lifestyle of the LGBTQ community, and I'm not going to live in an area where that is pushed. I also, and let's say you also said on Twitter, let's say, or Facebook, I don't want them pushing LGBTQ history in the schools. I don't want those kinds of people around my children. If someone were to say that on social media, they would be pilloried. They'd be destroyed. People would dox them, try to fire them, all that kind of stuff. None of that stuff reaches where I work. So, I don't know, am I do I work in the area of the Proles? Maybe. But all of that stuff that the top of the pyramid pushes, we know about in a place like Mount Vernon. We know it. We see it. We get it. We're called conspiracy theorists. We're called all kinds of names. We've been forgotten about by the wealthy and the powerful. But we don't care. We're going to do regular things. Regular people are going to do what they're going to do. And if the top of the pyramid doesn't like it, then go piss up a rope. There are a couple of guys doing this kind of stuff now. A guy, Jesse Lee Peterson, funny guy, preaches on YouTube about Christianity and having strong father figures. Vox Day, Owen Benjamin seems to be on fire big time. She's in the corporate conservative movement, but Candace Owens says a lot of things that get people totally bent out of shape. And they're just going to do what they're going to do. They're just going to say stuff. Toni Morrison was actually kind of like that. She died recently, and I need to do something on her because Morrison was wonderful. But she was somebody who was like, man, I understand the power dynamic, and you need to fight back. And you need to shut your mouth and stop complaining and do what you're going to do. Right? It's why I think Toni Morrison's been written out of the curriculum with Zora Neale Hurston and Malcolm X. So, anyway, regular people doing strong things like having a family and being religious and doing what they're going to do and not following the fads that they see in the media or from Hollywood is a very powerful thing. And it seems like the only places you can do that are areas that are not converged, that are not being managed by social justice warriors and busybodies. So I think Orwell was right. I think the Proles are our last hope. So maybe what you should do is try to find Proles. Find regular folk who do regular things like build a family and take care of their house and try to read to their kids and stay away from the filth in the modern world that they're pushing out in the media, which has gotten worse. I'm sorry, it has gotten much, much worse. And I'm not some curmudgeon who's like, everything sucks. Oh, you got to be crazy. How dare they have these things? No. It's gotten worse. I have children. So if you can find an area where you can operate like a prole and do what you know is just kind of like normal, regular American behavior that you kind of like, then that's what you need to do. And that's my message. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you next time. And remember, this is the sneaky, subversive nighttime video, so keep it under wraps.